The tragedy unfolding in Gaza right now is a really hard thing to fully get our heads around as Aussies, but we do need to be aware and try to understand things a bit. There's a lot of stuff being said that is just plain wrong. As of our time of recording Friday, Israeli forces have taken control of a buffer zone along the border between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. That gives Israel effective authority over the whole border now. And raids on the southern Gaza city of Rafah are continuing, and that's in defiance of the International Court of Justice order to end attacks on the city. It's believed about half of Gaza's 2.3 million people have taken refuge in Rafah. We should note that the ICJ ruling also called for Hamas to immediately and unconditionally release all the hostages, which of course it hasn't done. The court strangely didn't call on Hamas leadership to surrender, which is a bit weird. Anyway, the Israel military says that border zone with Egypt was an oxygen line for Hamas and used to smuggle weapons into Gaza. The ICJ wants Israel to explain just how it plans to keep evacuees from Rafah safe and provide food, water and medicine. How are you going to look after the sons and daughters of the territory that attacked you and murdered your sons and daughters, Israel? How? Now look, of course, Israel should do all it can to limit any more civilian death. But gee, they don't mind making demands, these international self-appointed bureaucrats, do they? Let's try to remember that Hamas launched a very sophisticated air, land and sea attack on Israel on October 7, and that they are heavily funded by Iran. We might need to actually help the young Israeli men going in to fight Hamas to take care of themselves first and the enemy second, maybe. I know the humanitarian crisis is horrible, but the very simplistic, childish and fully emotional and not rational way that a lot of people in the Western world are viewing this war right now is also very disturbing and dangerous. Hamas have not surrendered, and they still have hostages. The leaders remain living in luxury in Qatar. Iran continues to back them. And Iran even attacked Israel directly with a barrage of rockets a few weeks back, and it's building nuclear weapons. This is a war, and we in the West are dependent upon Israel winning. So when one of Australia's top 4 political party leaders cannot even bring himself to condemn Hamas and call them a terrorist organisation, pardon me if I start to question our sanity. We foolishly seem to think that we are invincible. We are not. Here's Adam Bant, the leader of the Greens, giving a performance on the ABC Insider show last week that was just very odd.
Do you also agree Hamas is a terrorist organisation that needs to be dismantled?
Well, they're listed as a terrorist organisation.
Do you support that?
And our point is now, well, it's just a fact. They're listed
I'm
as a
asking
terrorist.
if you support it. Do you think they're a terrorist organisation?
Well, we're not arguing to change that. We're saying they're listed as a terrorist organisation.
So you agree they are a terrorist organisation?
Well, but the point is, what are you going to do? The Palestinian civilians cannot be collectively punished.
Sounds like you're having some trouble saying that Hamas is a terrorist organisation.
No, I just said it was. They're listed, and we condemned the acts of October 7th, and we've called for the perpetrators to be held to account.
There is a difference between saying they're listed as a terrorist organisation and actually saying out loud you agree that they are one. Sorry, but I find that really troubling. He then went on to insist that Israel must stop its offensive in Rafah because of what the ICJ ruled. But there seems to be a real lack of willingness to think about the implications of Israel not proceeding, or to condemn Hamas for hiding behind women and children and not surrendering and still holding hostages. It's all just a little bit too anti-Israel for the sake of it for me. I'm sure it has nothing to do with all the votes there are in taking an anti-Israel position for the Greens. Really hope you enjoyed that content. There's a lot more where that came from, and it's available right here on YouTube, so do check it out. The Other Side with me, Damien Curry, your weekly summary news show, every Friday night dropping at 8 p.m. Also, we have lots of clips that come out during the week, so please subscribe. Press that little bell when you do subscribe. You can subscribe down there, you can subscribe up here, and we also have our full shows right here.